Have you guys heard of MING Stack? The most common way to deploy the MING Stack is to use Portainer, which is Neil's company, to deploy the MING Stack as a stack. I mean, it's what we have are two of the most important parts of being able to deploy the MING Stack. But all right, ready? All right, here we go, guys. Day 3, Hannover Messe. We are at the Cedalo booth. By the way, interestingly, I'll bet most of you don't know that there is a pro version of Mosquitto. That is a pro enterprise version of Mosquitto, and we actually have Mosquitto CEO here and the CEO and co-founder of Portainer.io as well. We're going to have a conversation about containerization, and I actually want to talk. The primary conversation is going to be centered around the land and expand community edition to business edition model of software. All right, so we got Neil Creswell and Philip Struss from Mosquitto, CEO. All right, let's start here. Everybody wants to make big announcements when they're at Hannover Messe. What was the thing you guys wanted to communicate to the people who stopped by your booth here at Hannover Messe?
You want me to start?
Yeah. Philip, we'll go with you.
Jumping right in the water. We basically had just like a big release like 2 weeks ago, more or less, and that actually came with a couple of integrations that we have on the Pro Edition side, so mainly integrations into several like databases and everything around that, and showing that basically what you can do with it, what's there, and basically showing how you can extend the open source version with that. Okay,
and how has that announcement been received? I mean, you're actually in an ideal spot. I mean,
it's really nice.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're in an ideal spot. So you've gotten a lot of traffic, clearly.
Yes.
What is the reception been?
It's very positive. So people stop by, they say, well, we already tried to solve this already like this way or that way.
Yeah, building a custom solution or whatever.
Exactly, and then always something fails, so they're not sure whether they did it the right way, and especially if they start then either using it in production or selling it to the customer, they run into the problem that they're not sure whether it's actually that good. And with that, they're really happy now that they have somebody to go to that can basically deliver it right away to them.
Awesome. And then Neil, what about you? What was so for that real quick? For most of you, if you guys heard of MING Stack, right? Deploying the MING Stack, Mosquitto, InfluxDB, Node-RED, and Grafana. What we're doing, the most common way to deploy the MING Stack is to use Portainer, which is Neil's company, to deploy the MING Stack as a stack in a Portainer stack to the edge. So it's kind of, I mean, it's what we have are two of the most important parts of being able to deploy the MING Stack. But for you, what did you want to announce, people? What is it you've been talking to potential clients about at the show?
I mean, for us, it's all about us being the actual delivery mechanism for applications to ensure success, right? The best application in the world is useless if you can't get it deployed out in the plant, and if you can't keep it maintained in the plant.
Right.
When you move away from proprietary SCADA type systems where you could probably update them once every 5 years to open source, open standards, you need to update applications, 4, 5, 6, 10 times a year?
Right.
That's easy to do if you have 2 or 3 devices. It's hard to do if you have 2,000 or 3,000 devices.
Right.
And so, for us, it's all about how do we make the ISVs and the OEMs successful? How do we show the integrators how to easily get the Industry 4 applications live and running out in the factory and keep them maintained?
So our cameraman right here, Jared, he's an engineer who's getting ready to join my integration firm. He's actually been going through full stack training. He just recently got trained on how to use Portainer to deploy infrastructure. And real quick,
must have been a very quick training course.
Yeah, I want to have Jared come up here on camera, and I want you guys to tell the audience what was your reaction? How did you respond the first time you deployed a stack using Portainer?
Hello.
Right. What was from the user itself, a brand new user? You get trained on Portainer, and you deployed actually a MING Stack using Mosquitto, InfluxDB, Node-RED, Grafana. You actually deployed Ignition, Postgres, and what else?
I think that was all of them.
Okay. What was your...
By the way, I'm going to take notes.
Yeah. And what was the first thing you said to me after you got done deploying using Portainer and a Docker Compose file? What was the first thing you said?
If a piece of software doesn't have a Docker image, I'm not going to use it.
Right.
Now, obviously, some stuff I'm going to have to use without being able to use a Docker image, but...
And before you knew anything about Portainer, right?
Yeah.
In your head, you were thinking, oh, Docker, I've got to use Docker command line, I got to do Docker compose in command line.
Yeah.
And then the first time you're using it in Portainer, what was your reaction when you're like, holy, like I saw it in your face, I saw your eyes. What was your reaction the first time you used a management platform like Portainer to manage infrastructure?
It takes the only shitty part of Docker and it gets rid of it.
There you go. Right. So I mean, yeah. So for those of you who have not used Portainer, and believe me, there's no commercial relationship here. I'm a huge fan of Portainer because I use it every single day. That's why we're having this conversation. So I appreciate you, Jared. Thank you. All right. Question number 2. Let's talk about the free software. Like, you guys both have open source software. You in a community edition. You in just straight open source that has millions of downloads, right? Millions of downloads. You also have paid customers, right? And the paid customers are primarily, I'm assuming they're managed services customers, those with SLAs. On the Portainer side, you're getting additional features. You get additional features. Okay. Well, you want to highlight some of the features that a paid customer gets in Mosquitto Pro, and then you do the same thing, and then I'll ask you. Okay. But
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely happy to do so. So one thing is really the Mosquitto, what it is as an MQTT broker. Often enough, it's really the core infrastructure part that you have for data transmission.
It's the pipe, right? It's the plumbing. It's the plumbing, right?
Absolutely. And if that breaks down just because the server goes up in flames, somebody pulls the plug or so, it's gone. So what you basically get with the high availability feature that we have is that you can run brokers in clusters.
And that's in Pro.
And that's in Pro.
So you get clustering in Mosquitto Pro.
Exactly. Okay. So with that, you basically get the reliability and can be sure that it's always up and running. So that's one of the parts. And in addition to that, we have additional security features that help you integrate it basically in your enterprise rights management.
So role-based management, etc. Okay.
Role-based management, like Active Directory, for example, all things around that as well. And in addition to that, we have integrations like into the databases now, or if you want to stream your data into Google Pops Up, or now also Google and the AlloyDB and things around these you have in that as well. So you basically save the pain of doing that and just get it right from us, so the reliability as well as the capability to integrate basically. Because, well, let's be honest, nobody runs an MQTT broker just for the fun of it.
Okay.
Maybe us, but that's it about it. So it's always part of a solution that you deploy internally, or you build a product with it and sell it.
So one of the most common way that people get started with MQTT brokers, I'll bet, I'm speculating here, but I assume it's likely Raspberry Pi running a Mosquitto on it, right? I mean, I know that was literally the first MQTT broker I ever I ever deployed, right? So when the first time you deploy a broker is the way you think. That's what a broker is. You limit your thinking to. So what you just described was, well, really the broker is something wrapped in, for Mosquitto Pro, the broker is something wrapped inside of a platform in the Pro side. That platform piece on the outside is a whole host of features that are not available in the open source, downloadable, free software.
Exactly. So it's basically the approach of open core. So the broker itself in the open source is very, very powerful. It's also run millions of times in production, and many of the companies we see are all around the Hannover Fair here actually. However, so that's basically the core of it, and then as you described, the Pro features sit on top of it or around it, basically extending it.
And for you, Neil, so I only use Portainer Business Edition. I've used the Community Edition like in a home environment, but I never actually took inventory of the features in the Community Edition. So what I'm familiar as the feature list is what's in Business Edition. So do you want to highlight quickly, like, what is the difference between the features available in Community, which is free and downloadable for anybody, and the Business Edition, which is really just an upgrade from Community Edition? You're basically unlocking Business Edition in your download with a license key.
Yeah, we are also an open core company. So we've got the open source core, and then we have our premium version on top, which has a bunch of additional features. And the way that I like to describe the difference is if you're running a small factory or a small deployment, Community Edition is probably good enough. But when you have to start managing at scale and you've got deeper security and compliance requirements, better governance and control, then you absolutely need to have the full paid edition. And
so when you go to multi-site, when you're saying when you get to the multi-site level, or a large facility, large plant.
Yeah, so multi-site, large facility, or even once you've got a hierarchical operational team, and you've got to have differing levels of skill. And you want to say, okay, well, you are significantly more trained in this, therefore you have more privilege. You're less trained, less privilege. So when you want to get that fine guy into access control,
I'm actually very impressed, by the way, in business as to the granularity of your ability to limit functionality based on the role.
Yeah.
I was really shocked the first time. We don't limit it, because it's all done in dev. But I was surprised at the full list of options, like how granular you can limit control in Portainer. I mean,
yeah, and one of the features we added recently was an actual edge admin role. So it's someone who has complete control of all of the edge environments, can deploy and manage the edge application suite, but can't make any changes to the Portainer configuration or anything else. So it's actually just a slightly tear down.
Which is what I did to him.
Right.
So he's using our business environment with Portainer, but he can't do anything with the actual installation, the actual container itself. All he can do is deploy. He can build stacks. He can. Actually, all of our juniors are that way. But, so obviously, you guys offer free software.
Yep.
Literally to millions and millions and millions of people.
Yep.
And that free software is supported by customers. Customers, your business customers are the ones who fund the development of the free software.
Of everything, yep.
All right.
Correct.
So, number one, how hard is it to convert somebody from a free customer to a paid customer? And then number two, what's the barrier to conversion?
So how hard is it? I can't think of anything much harder.
Okay.
So once you're ingrained in open source and free, it's very, very hard to convince people they need to pay. So you have to have something that is quite spectacularly different to say, okay, now I actually need to pay for this thing. There's something that is really going to make a true marked difference to their operations, their life, their security. Something has to be. It can't just be a small incremental improvement. It has to be a significant improvement in features and capability. Then you can convert them. Most of our commercial customers didn't actually convert. They actually heard about us from the noise network of the open source community. I mean, you go to Twitter, X, or any of the social media, and you listen to Portainer commentary. It's extensive. We rank very highly in Google keywords, just because we have so many free users talking about us and all these mediums.
Well, I mean, it's an incredible platform.
It just drives awareness.
Yeah, the first time that we demoed Portainer in our office to our engineering staff, I think 3 of the engineers had used Portainer before.
Yep.
So they were already familiar, they were relatively fluent, but they weren't using it they weren't power users. And we did a power user demonstration. And today, literally the entire staff, I mean, all infrastructure management is through Portainer now for our clients.
Well, I actually recorded a demo which I just published on the weekend, and it was basically saying, okay, I've got four discrete edge environments. This was 2 lines in 2 different factories, and I wanted to deploy three core applications to it. And the demo went from absolutely nothing configured to the applications running in the factory in 12 minutes. And I was showing someone this, and he said that would basically be a day of services revenue
literally
to get this thing done.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so you just did that in 12 minutes, and even better, you can tear it down and redo it, and tear it down and redo it, and it's exactly the same way every single time. And if you add more and more factories, it's just 6 more minutes each additional time.
And if you're an engineer who's using Portainer to manage in application deployment and management, you are strategically ahead of someone who is not, because it's a lever for speeding up your work. I mean, it's really. Yes. I don't know how people are competing not using it. To be honest with you, because it's saving us tens of thousands of dollars in setup costs on our quotes to customers.
Yeah.
Because we're not quoting tens of thousands of dollars to just get off the ground with infrastructure. We're literally deploying it we're literally taking stacks that we build inside of our office, and we deploy them to our customers in 10 minutes. And now, and what most people are spending 2 weeks on, we're deploying in 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, like the Edge templates capability in Portainer, which is basically a marketplace, click, deploy, done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is, by the way, where I was introduced to Cedalo.
There you go.
I didn't even know there was a Mosquitto Pro until I saw it in the template inside of
There you
Portainer.
go. But that lets you spin up a POC in minutes.
Right.
So rather than having to go and invest countless hours or days,
Yeah,
even
Influx
weeks.
DB's in there.
Yeah.
TossiBox Edge Key for those. Our whole community uses TossiBox.
Ignition's
for VPN
in there.
Ignition's in there. I mean, it's really. In fact, I've been talking to a lot of vendors here, going, "Hey, you need to go talk to Neil, and you need to get your product in a template in Portainer, including Litmus Automation." Was one of the first
To be
ones.
clear, the templates is the business feature.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, but you need it. Yeah, I mean, you must have it. What about you? How Well, we know
Yeah.
it's hard to convert.
Yes.
How hard is it to convert? Why is it hard to convert?
I think the problem that we have there, or where the challenges are, at least let's put it like this, the customers that we have, they typically used MQTT at least before and often enough us. So
Yeah.
they are really familiar with it. Often enough they have the infrastructure up and running already, and then often enough they have it running in production as well. And then there are, I'd say, like 2 to 3 types of, let's say 2 types that come in. One is really, they have it up and running, and then it's like one of the customers actually said it, it's a save my ass policy. So he said, I have all of this running here, I basically have it under control. There basically you have to add also, typically we don't see like a single deployment or a single cluster that's being deployed, but rather you sometimes have tens or hundreds, sometimes thousands of brokers that run, and they are all bridging to each other. It's always looking a little bit like I like to call it like a Christmas tree. And then they see, oh shit, everything is running on that, and I somehow have to support that. And if anything goes sideways, it's me basically.
So are your existing customers the ones that are driving the development of the Pro features?
Yes and no. So we have a roadmap basically based on what we see basically in terms of like the trends. Obviously customers.
Which will be my last question. What's in your roadmap?
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Customers obviously that we talk to, prospects, then what we learn basically from the projects where we help implement. So that's driving the roadmap basically, and then naturally the customers have some insight into our roadmap, and then if they say, could we please get that one release earlier or so, you can always talk to us basically.
Neil, are you
That's
allowed
driving that.
are you allowed to share who your big customer? I mean, I know some of your big customers. Are you allowed to share?
Under
public?
NDA.
All right. So there are. What I will say is this: is that there are very large manufacturers in the world whose entire infrastructures are being managed
Global
with
500s.
Global 500s, whose entire infrastructures are being managed with Portainer. And I assure you that nearly every single manufacturer on the planet is deploying Mosquitto somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you would be hard pressed to find a manufacturer.
But what's, for example, one big thing for us is basically you said you found us in Portainer, and
Yeah.
it was the first time that
Yeah, the
we became-
Cedalo I
yeah,
found, Mosquitto Pro I found in Portainer.
Exactly, and became aware of that. And that's basically like the biggest problem or challenge that we are still facing, that although we've been driving the whole Eclipse project for quite a time already, and Roger started it, like one of my co-founders, basically way back already, it's really the visibility of there is a company behind it, there's basically doing most of the work on the project.
And this part of what this interview is all about is like, hey, there's a Mosquitto Pro out there, and there's horizontal scale and there's vertical scale available in the Mosquitto Pro features. I mean, and that just makes to me when you say MQTT broker, Mosquitto's the OG. It's the original gangster. It's the original, and the fact that y'all have a Pro edition that has the platform features available, and I only found out about it literally 90 days ago. You know what I mean?
You got a marketing problem.
No.
I only found out about it. 90
Generally, we
days
don't have problems.
But so actually, if you could say one thing to, if you wanted to overcome the objection on, and we're not trying to sell anything. This is an exercise I've been doing. I've observed. I spoke at InfluxDB a couple of weeks ago, and they have a similar model, right? They have an open source free version, but they also have a Pro paid edition, and they have a problem converting. And the issue is not value. I really think a lot of it's messaging. So I've been asking a lot of the open source, open source core companies, well, what would you, if you could tell an audience, hey, why you need to move to the paid edition, what would that be? If you could overcome the objection right now, what are the reasons you want to move to Pro?
Yeah, The reason you want to move to Pro are really that you have the support behind it, you have the people that really build it, that can help you basically putting your architecture together.
Service level agreements, right?
Exactly.
That's the same for everyone in open source.
Managed services, right? High availability.
High availability. You get essentially you get more features, you get more software, you get more functionality out of that. And in the end, typically you need that functionality anyways. And
by the time you get to the enterprise level, you better have it.
Exactly.
I mean, if your enterprise is dependent upon that infrastructure, and you don't, to me, I can't believe it. I mean, honestly, it's hard to wrap my brain around it.
We're always saying we're building or help you build basically your backbone, your digital backbone.
Yeah.
And if that then scales and you really want to maintain that, and then basically, as I said, it's always integrated with something, and you don't do it right, well, it's typically you're quite far along the way already to turn back and start, and it's always more costly and more time.
Yeah, you got to refactor. And Neil, what about you? What's the one thing, if you could overcome the objection to a broad audience?
So there's two things. I'm going to steal two things, right?
Okay.
So one thing is, if you look at the use of containers inside the data center, right, inside IT. Now I know the worlds are different, but inside IT, IT has really centered down on the fact that I need a central platform management team and a platform tool set to actually securely manage any kind of container infrastructure. Now, if OT think that doesn't apply, it's a mistake. Right. There's a lot of learnings from the IT world around better governance and control, central management. So that helps there. For me, the main thing is if you're serious about running your enterprise with software, it better be software that you can support.
Yeah, it's critical software.
It better be software that publishes a software bill of materials, that takes CVEs seriously, that produces regular updates, that's strongly maintained. That's the kind of stuff that you get with a paid version, as well as all the other features.
And last question for both of you guys: what's in the roadmap? What can we expect to see? And let's stay on the Pro side. So let's stay Business Edition, and let's stay Mosquitto Pro.
So we are working to resolve a lot of the design decisions that Docker made. Docker as a technology is designed for the data center. It assumes it has access to the internet at all times.
Right.
When it doesn't, when it's an air-gapped environment, it falls apart real quick.
Yeah.
So we're looking at ways to basically hook into the Docker networking stack to say, actually, even though you want to pull from Docker Hub, you can't get to it, so don't. Go here transparently.
Right.
And without people needing to know that it's even happening.
Right.
So better IT, OT network segmentation support, better air-gap network support. We're trying to build that into Portainer, propping up the deficiencies in the architecture of the actual container runtime. If you try and run Docker or Kubernetes air-gapped, you're in for a world of pain. So we're trying to make that easier.
It assumes cloud connectivity.
Correct.
Right?
So we're going to make that easier.
And Phil, same question for you. So for Mosquitto Pro, what's in the roadmap? What should people expect?
In the immediate roadmap, it's more integrations basically to systems that typically come afterwards. Like, we have many databases on there already. A couple of more we're going to follow. We have.
Are you going to edge connectivity too?
No, that's something in terms of like positioning that we don't do. We like to partner there.
Good.
We're going the other way, and then pretty much everything that makes sense. Like
Snowflake, Databricks, right?
Exactly. Then AWS Kinesis and everything around that topic, basically. Perfect. So that's going to be like a huge chunk of that. And then what's also going to follow is that's actually would be quite an interesting topic for maybe another time or so.
Yeah.
Is once you've built all of that, there's always somebody that needs to operate the whole thing also and see how that works, and then basically being able to really monitor even better and nice and visualize what's basically going on in your network. So particularly interesting if you have this mesh of like several brokers that bridge to each other, like what's basically going on and how to do that even better. That's then also something that a little bit longer later in the year is going to come.
And if somebody wants to try Mosquitto Pro Edition, the Cedalo, how do they kick the tires without purchasing a license up front?
They just come to our website, and we have like a formula where you put your stuff in, basically, essentially your email address, and then we just send it to you, and you get basically a 1 month trial.
30 days.
Yeah,
on
you get
Pro?
30 days, and then if you want to have it a little bit longer, you can talk to us. We're the last people that you cannot talk to, so to say, and then you can try it out. And we're always happy about the feedback there.
And Neil, you? How does someone get a license for Business Edition if they want to kick the tires?
Also, if you're starting with Portainer CE, there's a button there that says upgrade to VE, and it auto-generates you a license key, a trial license, and you're upgraded in a minute. If you're not starting in CE,
that gives, how long is that license?
30 days.
30 days.
We're actually going to increase that though, because we found 30 days is not long enough.
Okay.
If you're not starting with CE, on the website there's a button to just get a trial license.
Awesome.
We also offer a freemium license, which is free forever, 3 nodes, free forever of the full featured product. So if you just want to have a lab or kick the tires, you can grab a full license free forever.
Awesome. 3 node.
3 nodes.
Right. And that's Portainer.io.
Portainer.io.
And
Cedalo.com.
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 All right, Phil, Neil, I appreciate you guys' time. If you guys like this video, comment down below, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Ta-da.
Thanks, guys.